So it's a beautiful day for a video. I decided I would sit at the bottom of the garden and talk to you about my aortic valve replacement. I don't know how many videos on YouTube there are covering aortic valve replacement, which is the valve which allows out of your heart the oxygenated blood. But here's another one anyway. It's my experience, which is pretty current because I'm literally 12 days out from the operation, the valve replacement operation, which I've been lined up for, to be honest, 20 years since the discovery of a heart murmur that I was told about by a US doctor over in California when I worked there for a couple of weeks, and it was a condition which was picked up on again by a Macedonian lady doctor in Skopje in Macedonia when we lived there, sort of mid 2010, 12, something like that. So a good number of years after the American doctor had picked it up. That was the American doctor had observed the murmur noted the murmur in 2004. So let's say about 8-10 years later, I was reminded of it. Both occasions were when I had a kind of heavy chest infection, and I went for help to the doctor because it was horrible, to get something for relieving the symptoms of the chest infection. And chest infections bring the murmur out more, apparently. So they exaggerate and exacerbate the symptoms of a valve defect, which is what I had. Thing is, I didn't really know I had a valve defect because either I was not listening properly to the doctors, or it wasn't explained clearly enough. I don't think I was just ignoring them. They were saying it was a serious thing that I had. This murmur was serious. It needed monitoring, and simply the years passed, and come through to 10 years ago when I had a double arthroscopy on my knees, on my, I think, meniscus, and they basically cleaned out my the areas, like the joint, which is the meniscus, behind the meniscus of the kneecap. And for that, I needed to have a pre-op to check my heart was okay, so I wouldn't croak in the operation. And the chap there, he was the cardiac specialist, told me that the heart valve was the problem. He said it's calcified and it's not operating properly. It looks like it's got two of the 3 flaps, which are opening like so, to let the blood through on each pump. 2 of them were stuck together. He said this could be congenital, in other words, a birth defect, or it could be something that's developed with your life. So he said you must check it every year, and you happy days, sort of thing. At least that was the advice. Did I check it every year? I think I checked it the following year, roughly, when we lived in Albania. And then time went past, and I just put it on a back burner. Life was very busy with the children, growing up, young children in the early days, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and so on. In Albania, in a foreign school, and in an American school in Albania. Lots of activity. Also international work, of course, prior to that. And basically, there came a point where I realized that on heavy exercise, I was starting to suffer from dizziness, from heart fluttering, and really things weren't normal. So don't really think I got to ask a doctor about these symptoms until it was during, might have been just before COVID. It's about 4 or 5 years, no, about 3 or 4 years ago, I would say. And essentially I went along to the GP, the general practitioner, and I asked about these symptoms, and she said, wow, okay, we need to, she asked me various questions about drinking, about smoking, about which, I wasn't smoking, I was drinking something then, for sure, and especially through the COVID period, it was a more an easier time for a human being to say, oh, I'll feel better if I have a drink because that will help me get through COVID, etc. I'd also just lost my father, and I'd also just had, in no uncertain terms, realised that the marriage that I was in was broken down, or was being broken down by forces exterior, let's say. And so it went like this then. So about 2 years ago, I got this GP, my doctor, to get me through for an ECG, an echocardiogram, and it turned out that it was confirmed that this stenosis existed, that this valve, this aortic valve, was not in good condition. It was not a happy teddy bear, and it was creating havoc with my blood flow. I then went through various other tests, and it was shown in more and more clear terms that I was in need of an operation. So I was put under a specialist in Scarborough, North East England, who told me that he explained everything to me. He said, we'll check it out further. If we conclude that it's a severe stenosis, aortic valve stenosis, we will need to operate. And I said, oh, that means putting in through my leg, the stent, and no, he said, this means open heart surgery. So this was this was a revelation to me, because I hadn't expected. I think I was 59 then, 59 years old. I'm now 61, so I had not expected that I would need to go through this surgery, because I thought I was young, fit and able to keep going forever, and I had no intention of dying before 100. Still don't, and in fact, who knows, but he reassured me that this thing would kill me if it wasn't sorted out. And so that was phase 1.